Call this meeting of the Douglas County Parks Department to order. We do the roll call. Jerry's not here. I'm here. Gina's here. Craig's here. Kavana's here and Troy's here. So pretty full house. To make a motion for approval or amendment of the minutes.
I'll move that we approve the minutes.
I second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Minutes approved. So we've all looked at the agenda. Is there any questions or objections to the agenda?
You have to approve last,
Well, we did the minutes, we already did that, but I don't think we have to. Sorry, I haven't run this particular meeting before, so we don't have to approve the agenda, do we? I don't think so.
no, you have to approve the minutes.
Yeah, we did that
Minutes,
already.
minutes, okay.
Okay, so new business, Happy Valley Boat Ramp Adopt a Park application.
So before you have an adopt a park for application for Happy Valley Boat Launch, this is by Roseburg Forest Products. And our application is attached along with their proposed scope of work. And this is an action item.
Okay.
We'll come back to you.
Yeah, we don't have any microphones.
It's
Ooh,
they've
oh.
revised.
Yeah.
Whoa, that's pretty
Oh,
fancy.
nice.
They went fancy.
Alright,
Picks up everything, so careful.
great.
On your sidebar comments.
Uh-oh, no, I'm just kidding. So, does anybody have any comment, general discussion on that? I mean, I looked through it, I was pretty impressed,
I
actually.
was gonna say the same thing. I think it's an absolutely amazing, that park has needed something like this for a very long time.
Well, and previously, it's been a year ago or more, we had, some of you may have been here for that. They came in and some folks, basically were lobbying to the neighbors were lobbying to shut the park off.
Correct.
Pretty much, yeah. And, so.
So this will make them happy as well.
Yeah, it was pretty good deal. All right, so we talked about board, we need to talk about next, action item is board term
Correct.
renewals.
So this is informational. The Board of Commissioners will actually vote on these renewals. Some of the terms of following board members expired December 31st, 23. Jerry Chartier, Troy Wilder, and Gina Bean. The three board members affirmed their interest in pursuing a new 4-year term expiring 12/31/27. And a resolution to appoint them will be passed on to the Board of Commissioners for their consideration and approval at their next scheduled meeting.
Okay, anybody have any questions or discussion on that? The next new business would be changes to the policy manual. It looks like the department did a good job of putting together what they were looking at making changes to. This will be an action item, but do we want any discussion on that now? Discuss it, did you all have a chance to look over it?
Out of curiosity, did you have some people reserving sites and then
All
only
these
might?
changes are addressing issues
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
that
Figured.
come up. And then some of it's just minor clarifications. Yeah, we had, what was this, Whistler Band. I'd love to know the whole story, cause a mother from Medford brought her teenagers up. They rent a yurt, Jennifer? Yeah, they rented a yurt.
She left.
And she
She
left,
dropped
right?
them off.
Yeah.
They trashed the yurt, tore up grass down in the lower campground, in the lower day use area. We caught them. Called the mom up about it, and those are good boys, they wouldn't do any of that. So, well, I'm not. My camp host said we got X damage, so anyway, we charged her for the damage and then turned to realize that she basically dropped off a bunch of teenagers for a weekend. It makes me wonder if they've been kicked out of Jackson County park system. and
Doing the same thing.
She came up to Douglas County, so when I reviewed the rules, we didn't have anything that says you gotta be at least 18. If you rent a car, you gotta be 25, and I believe if you get a hotel room, you got at least 18 or maybe 21.
I think it'd be 18 for a hotel, but
Yeah.
25 for a car for sure.
So we're just catching up with
Yeah.
the rest of the hospitality industry.
Well, I think that makes a lot of sense because, I mean, gosh, I can remember being a crazy teenager, if someone would have dropped us off on a yurt, Whistler's Bend, all by ourselves all weekend, yeah, there would have been damage.
I'd be paying for it still, but
Teenagers.
so as
Exactly.
far as the The spring break, we took out the upcharge for spring break, is that what's going on there?
Yes,
Okay,
Yeah.
that's good.
that was just,
Is it just not being utilized much? I mean,
no, just, Jody Moreau, she's pretty dialed into the coast and we were kinda out there, nobody else was doing it. And it was a recommendation from her and we're not selling out spring break, so yeah, it was a reasonable thing to do.
Sure.
And some of these things I have sort of unilateral ability to change, but any changes these to the policy manual, I feel like I wanna run them by you guys and be included in it. So some of them are pretty minor, they're just word text edits, but I wanna run it all by you and get your input.
Appreciate that.
I appreciate that.
Really, the only one of any substance would be the 18-year-old.
Are we still tracking the veteran stuff and seeing what the cost is and all that?
Yes,
'Cause
and we will
we do have a
report on
requirement
that
to-
at our July meeting,
I was
once
gonna
we've
make
got a
sure, 'cause we-
full fiscal year.
Okay, perfect, yeah, I just know,
A little controversy over that one, I'm curious to know how that went.
I just know that we have a requirement we
Yeah.
made our own requirement to make sure that we looked at that
And I
again,
have
so-
it on my whiteboard as a July agenda item.
Okay, perfect.
And then just clarifying high season, low season. Those are the only changes I have there.
Alright, unless somebody wants to discuss that further, we can move on to old business.
Vice Chair, just a question to Jennifer. When do we vote on the agenda items, the action items? Is
After old business.
it after
Yeah.
old
In
business?
case there's any action items in old business,
Oh,
then we
yeah.
take actions after both the old
So we're
and.
moving on to old business.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was asset sales, I didn't see a list of the things.
No, it's stuff that we've done, voted on before, and so it's just an update for you folks. I have Green Oaks Park, Pass Creek Park, Hedden Park, and Angler's Acre. These are all properties we've discussed previously, and I just wanted to give you an update on them. Green Oaks is almost cleared, all the regulatory stuff we gotta do to get the zone change and get property bisects creek, and we got a boundary line adjustment because the west side of the creek is now a bioswale for county. So if the county wants to retain that, and then we're breaking out the east half of the creek, which would be the property that we'll actually sell. So that's moving through the process, but probably within a couple of months being able to put up that for sale.
So on the west side of the creek, is that just basically the parking lot?
There's a parking lot and there's a bridge, but the parking lot was all parking lot, and now it's half parking lot and half bioswale.
Okay.
The,
That's what those,
improvements they did on Cons Road.
which those barriers are back there then?
Correct.
Okay, perfect.
So the county obviously wants to retain that, and there's also a bus stop there, so the parking lot serves the bus stop. Pass Creek, where we at with that one? That's moving through the planning process. We have to get the zoning change from PR to CT, commercial tourism, so that somebody else could use that as a potentially a mobile home park and address some of the housing issues. And we have a lot of customers in there that are not recreational. They're there for, we've got a couple of long terms we've had there in a while, and I think and we're precluded from doing anything over 90 days, and that's a real impediment to really generating business at that park, given the lack of recreational use of it.
Yeah.
So in other hands, I think that place will fill up. It's basically turnkey.
Yeah,
Did we figure out the water situation with the North Douglas fire?
We have that as a carve out. We'll make sure that they've got a secure water right. And Tony Page and Rita Brown and Land are kind of handling that for me. They have all that information. Hedden Park, same thing. We just gotta get the PR removed from it. And these are all currently in the FY25 budget, and I expect we'll start moving on them late summer. So that was just an update on those. That's all I have on old business.
now one thing I didn't notice on the agenda, typically when do we allow people who are here to speak? Is that after the action or before the action?
Has to be agenda items.
Okay.
If you wanna do that wait, I didn't realize how much a chair has responsibility here.
I can't see it, I forgot my glasses. We're citizen comment app. I don't see it on the agenda, that's why I was confused, we used to see it after all this.
Okay, so let's just throw that in there. I don't
Okay.
know.
So before we take action, is our folks here to speak?
Yeah, we would like to introduce ourselves. My name is Jared Jennings.
I'm Shepherd.
Hi, we're here representing Umpqua United Soccer Club.
Okay.
I reached out to Jen and thank you for inviting us. We're interested in providing the community and our club with a turf field at some point. So we're seeking land, a park, whether through the city or the county, to try to locate a site for a turf field. And we don't have a specific like proposal or today, but we kind of wanted to come and see what your guys's interest was in that, and if you guys had any specific sites or parks that you have been looking at, if you guys have any plans or any motions or already in place.
Really looking to build the relationship as well, to introduce, let you know that we're looking and actively inspired and dedicated to building the club and a complex and build with the community. And so we wanted to reach out to the county and the city and team partners and doing that and put the options out there and open up the doors for that.
Can you elaborate on what you mean by complex? I think buildings.
No, well,
A sports complex, right? Like, so, we currently are at the city park and have 15 of the 20 acres that are actively used in the fields for soccer playing, and the one building that we have the office in, and so that is considered.
Is this at
it's at
is it Stewart
Fir
Parkway or Fir Grove?
Grove, yeah, and I think
Is that city, excuse me, is that city
That's
property?
it is city property, yeah. You know, I don't know if so much we're like, I would obviously a complex with multiple fields would be fantastic. But you know, sometimes you gotta start small and sometimes it's one park. I grew up in Kirkland, Washington, and you know, playing just the Bellevue, obviously it's a different demographic up there. But there's turf fields on almost every little corner park up there now, if you go up and I know that there is a lot of benefits to just the health and the community aspect that the community can play on those fields year round. There's less maintenance, obviously there's a lot more upfront costs, but it's a great opportunity for the community to access fields year round and to play and to grow and which is always a good thing, so. Yeah.
So there's some stuff in the works on a few things for stuff like this. I've been part of the sports community for a very long time. I grew up with Michelle, she knows all about this. We've tried this before and didn't get anywhere, but there's probably the most movement I've ever seen on it right now. Have you guys reached out to any other groups to see this? Cause if not, I can try to work on it behind the scenes, maybe get some names of those, but there is talk of a sports complex coming to Roseburg right now.
I've heard rumors about at the fairgrounds, and like it's basketball courts and multiple fields kind of thing is what my understanding or what the rumor that I heard, which I think is fantastic. I've also heard that there's a lot of hoops that it needs to jump through and it's probably like 4 years away, and you know.
It's slow like all things are, that's, yeah.
Right. And you know, with any fields, I think it's fantastic to have fields at the fairgrounds. Like, I mean, what that would do for our community is awesome. But there's also, I think, availability in other areas. You know, I think that we should have, and I think we're talking to the city as well. But I think that there should be something within the city, and I think, you know, if we have one at the fairgrounds and I think River Forks Park would be an excellent location for a specific turf field. I think long term there should be one there.
Is
know
there,
how big you're looking for, cause we have some properties that are coming available, do you have a group together that could maybe bid on the properties that come available?
We would
Green
love
Oaks
to
is,
be
and
involved in that,
you know,
yeah,
I
there, there's a few people on the that are working behind the scenes on that we have had communication with, for the Douglas County Fairgrounds one. Don't know about additional properties, we have been continually looking. Jared and I kind of have started back in November, getting a little bit more hands into the deep dive within the soccer club to try and develop this a little bit more. It's still in a lot of the beginning phases of where we're hoping to be, but we just wanted to definitely open up this channel of conversation, find different avenues, which it sounds like maybe there's some that we can get in with learning about properties, and if there's somebody maybe specifically you have on the list that we could go and talk to about a complex that's already in place. As one of our topics was anything that we can be involved in that's already established, or anything that comes up that we can maybe be invited to join in that conversation, and then creating that path of future.
Yeah, and I think, you know, as an initial step for our club, we're not looking to move our whole, 700 players or 700 to a new facility. I think we have 8 competitive teams that travel, and we're one of the only competitive teams that don't play on turf field. We practice on grass, we play when our home games are on grass, but if we go anywhere else, we're playing on turf. And so we would really like to provide our competitive teams that travel a turf field, and really so just one that they can practice on and they can play on their games and that sort of thing. We do have 3 size fields that we play on as the kids grow older. The fields do change. But we can make those work within one field. We can adjust a field. We might have to have a couple of different size goals or something like that. But if it's just one regular size football field, if you will, like at the high school, we could make that work as far as just what we're trying to do short term. But long term, obviously the complex is a beautiful idea. And we would love to try to get behind that. I know that we have members on our board who've been looking to some grants that we have access to, and just other community help and funds that would like to help us out with it, with getting this going. So
I think if you guys get the right people behind it, you can definitely do it. I've researched a lot. Have you reached out to the Tribe? Cause that Starlight Theater place is a great location for stuff like that as well. We never went all the way down that road with them, but if you reach out to them and kind of give them a pitch, tell them what you're doing. I'm not trying to steer you away from what we're doing, but that's an opportunity to look at. That we always thought would be a great location for baseball fields. I mean, that's just what my kid played all the way when he did soccer first, of course, but then, he was pretty big into it and we looked at it, we just couldn't get the right people on board, but that's just my advice, personal advice out.
so to clarify, would you wanna stay at the Fir Grove Lake location and expand to another, rather than transitioning?
Many options, right? Like, I mean, the club itself has recreational and competitive kids on it, so there's lots of potential for keeping a portion of it there and
Yeah.
developing.
What's driving the need?
We have so many more kids, like there is thankfully just more and more kids coming to play and wanting to be involved. As well as there's a Southern Oregon League and a Northern League, and all the competitive teams have been in both of them, and everywhere you go, there is the turf fields, and that is regulation, and yes, we can go and we have used the Sutherland High School and the Harrisburg High School to go do certain games, but they can only fit one, and we have Saturdays 8 o'clock to 3 o'clock pretty much full of traveling teams.
The artificial turf? trying to get on grass?
At the high schools, they have one
Prefer
artificial
to be on
field.
grass.
No, they want
Turf,
turf
it's
fields.
turf fields, they want turf fields,
So do you,
Artificial turf.
artificial
Yes.
turf,
When you
yeah,
say
sorry,
turf-
yeah, sorry, Mark, I
Oh,
forget your,
'cause
yeah.
Like grass.
Yeah, grass, yeah, I understand, no, artificial turf fields.
Artificial, yes.
And the drive behind it too is, at first, it's competitive advantage that the other teams have by playing on them all the time. The other thing is the revenue that
Yes, I
can be
was gonna say
created, which we
revenue.
don't really care about here as much, but the revenue that can be created by the teams coming in is pretty large.
Yeah.
And so I think that if you get the right community people behind, you could do it. I
Yeah.
don't know how we get involved in that kind of stuff, but I have lots of ideas outside of that.
Yeah, that's
How
fantastic.
big's the soccer field? What's the dimensions?
I wanna say it's about 55 yards by 120 yards, give or take. A football field 100 by 50, so you usually
750
wanna,
square feet, isn't
yeah,
it? Yeah.
usually wanna.
20 by 55?
Square feet.
No, it's, okay.
I'm assuming wanting a turf field, then you would have travel ball and a lot of players from all around come here, so you'd have to consider
We,
parking
I mean, we already
do.
do,
stuff
we
like
have
that.
South County, we
We
have
already do,
Glide, we
yeah.
have a lot, you know,
I travel from Bend,
Yeah.
Klamath Falls, Reading, Vancouver, every weekend we've got
Any
A full-
idea what a turf field costs?
it's a,
yes, $750,000.
Yep,
It's about
750, yep.
2 acres for one turf field, that includes the turf itself, the field itself, and a half acre of parking is required, so.
Ouch.
It is, but everything's a ouch, right? Everything's a path, and so.
Well, there's some, it's one thing to spend 750,000 on a revenue generating asset. It's
Yeah.
another thing
Correct.
just
Yeah.
to do it and
Yes,
provide it.
and we're not coming to say fund this, we're coming to say, can we partnership, can we open up the channels and have conversations and
Absolutely.
be involved and let you know that we're invested and we have multiple people invested and we didn't wanna come and waste your time until we were ready to say that, so we respect the opportunity to speak at this moment in front of all of you.
But wouldn't a turf field be revenue generating?
Oh,
yeah.
absolutely.
yeah, you
Oh,
can
yeah.
rent it out, I mean,
Yeah.
there's football, youth football
we'd have to-
programs, there's
Yeah,
lacrosse,
there's a lot.
there's all
Flesh
kinds of
that out.
programs.
I mean, for them, and then I don't know where we
Right now,
play
we
a
don't
part.
charge parking
Yeah.
fees, our
Sure,
baseball fields, like
I think they're
those
looking
around
more for,
open.
is there land available?
Land that they can
things like
maybe-
that.
So we got this, you got 2 land options that I can think of. If you wanna be in the I-5 corridor, it's gonna be Stanton, south of the pavilion. Feel free to go look at that. I think you got enough area there. Or it's gonna be at River Forks. Probably as you're going in on the right-hand side as you get towards the new playground pavilion.
Yeah.
Pavilion you put in.
Well,
The kind of the green or the yellow
ball
and
is-
red one.
Where the volleyball courts are, or used to be.
Where
I
do
don't
you
know
think
if
of
they're
where
still-
the
used to be.
backstop
Okay.
is? There's a baseball backstop back there. What do you
Yeah.
think, which
Somewhere over there.
Yeah, somewhere over there, yeah.
Outside.
Do you know how many acres are at the Stanton that you referenced?
There's enough to fit a field.
A
Cause
field.
we got a whole pile of grass south of the pavilion we pretty much water it, don't do much else with it.
Okay.
That's another thing, putting in the artificial grass, the turf would be a huge money saver on the water and the taking care of all of that transfers over. And putting in a proper one, you don't have to replace the field or the turf until 10 to 12 years approximately.
Yeah, Stanton would be good, cause you might get more interest from the tribe that way too.
It's a little further away from town, but still there's,
Yeah,
It's
Get the
25 miles from down there.
I love it, I mean, I fish there all the time, but.
Yeah,
Well, you can have travelers staying in their RV
Travelers
parks and stuff.
stay at the RV park, stay in the hotels, their parents can lose money gambling.
Well, see, that's what we thought about with the Starlight Theater, then we talked the tribe into it, then we have them run a shuttle back and forth, I mean, we had a lot of great ideas.
Starlight would be more centrally located, yeah.
Yeah.
we've had our eye on that one too.
Well, everyone up here, we're all problem solvers, so we're
Yes.
getting kicked off in the weeds about, ooh, you could do this, you could do
Yeah.
that, so.
Yes.
I guess thanks for coming,
I have
to,
one final
okay,
question
go
I
ahead.
have. I just wanna get some sense of your financial ability.
Mhm.
So 750,000, if county, tribe, someone said, hey, we'll work with you on this. Realistically, what do you think you could kick in towards a
You
project like that?
know better than I would probably.
You know, we have not done any type of a deep dive into reaching out for a community. We've done very surface and wanted to get a grip on what a piece of property would cost, what the average dollar is for building something like this. $10 to $15 per square foot is what the average is for building, building this from ground up. That includes your lighting, your seating, the turf, and so
I know that we have looked into some grants that are available.
we have a few grants.
And I know that there are grants that the county could have available to you as well.
Oh, and you'll hear about one of those
There's-
later on in this
And
presentation.
there's some investors that have already reached out to say that, you know, when it comes time, but as with anything, if you continue to knock on the same door all the time and you're not ready to go forward with it, then that's a waste of time for someone. So we're ready to go to do this next level and start building a plan and are not ready to say anything here and lay it out. We're not here for that. We just really wanted to open that door and get this back and forth feedback
Do you-
that they
Do you,
go.
as you travel, do you rent turf fields, artificial turf fields?
Yeah, so we use the high schools regularly or
Jog in.
Sutherland, well, they have, priority goes to their teams. So
Sure.
we don't get them during the school year and even during some of the summer, they still have their
Practice.
football practices and so it's not necessarily available all the time. We have had access to it during the winter, which is fantastic because they don't have outdoor sports at that time. And so
And the lights.
and the lights make it available for us, but really that's kind of our dead time as well.
They're charging you, what's an average cost to rent one of these fields?
What I know Sutherland, which was charging about $150 a session, a practice.
For an hour, basically.
Yeah. So
That's all I need, just some
yeah.
sense of what it costs.
Yeah.
We could get a better idea of that too if we talk to Medford, cause they have all their city fields down there, they have everything, soccer, baseball, everything, and they also rent it out too. So when they're
Yeah.
not having stuff going,
Yeah.
cause we could
The
definitely get a
Lithius
solid number on them.
fields and the Dutch Bros fields and Grants Pass, they're we're highly.
Tons of them,
Yeah.
tons of them to get a business model out of it.
Our, the grants that we participate in, they generally pay 50% match. And if we do something along these lines, I think we'd wanna see a pretty substantial match from
Oh,
the
yeah.
organization. I'll just throw out 25%.
Sure.
Have some skin in the game.
Yep.
Yeah.
The county and the grants, and to the extent you could pursue that through other grants. So don't take anything we're saying here as a negative. We support what you're doing, we just gotta see if we can get to a point where it's feasible to move forward.
Oh yeah, I get
Completely
it.
understand and respect that.
And I would encourage you to go look at Stanton, look at River Forks, and feel free to come back to this meeting and follow up, continue the discussion.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank
Good
you.
luck.
You guys.
All right, we'll move to park advisory action items. The first action item will be the Happy Valley Boat Ramp Adopt a Park application. Accept a motion to accept that, or?
Yeah, I'll make the motion that we accept that, I think it's a phenomenal idea.
I'll second that.
All right, a motion and a second, all in favor, opposed? Action passes.
The second one, we just need confirmation from Gina and Troy that they're interested in signing up for another. So,
We'll do it.
Jennifer, could you reach out to Jerry and confirm that he's interested? And then if so, then we can put a DOC agenda item together.
Yeah, we don't have to take action because it's informational.
No, because the Board of Commissioners makes that decision.
All right, well.
And then the last one would be the changes to the policy manual. That was an
Oh,
action
we
item.
do have to do action, okay.
Correct.
I take a motion to, anyone have any discussion about the policy manual? Entertain a motion to accept the changes as proposed.
I'll make a motion to accept the changes as proposed.
I second that motion.
Motion seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous.
Okay, moving on to director's update. First item of business, just a revenue update.
I like the way that's going.
Well, we implemented some pretty big changes July 1 of last year, primarily around Umpqua Dunes, going from a $45, $50 a night to a $75, $85, $95 tier, recognizing the value of the bigger spots versus the smaller spots. And the the customer response has been pretty much sold out at Oquatuns. It hasn't fazed people.
Really good.
You know, the people that got a 90-foot motorhome and need that 90-foot spot, they're willing to pay for it. When it was kind of a single tier, all things are equal, you can grab the biggest site you can, right? The guy that needs that site can't get it because someone's in there with a 40-footer.
Yeah.
So we kinda got people going to their price points. So we've, materially moved the needle this last year. And at the same time, our overall overnight camping is down 3%. On the overall, actually down slightly on the coast and down significantly at Stanton and Amaker. And but with the declining overnights, we're still about 11% up on revenue, so that's a good thing. Less overnights is less maintenance and stuff we gotta do, cleaning campsites and toilets, so we're on a good track.
What are your thoughts on the decrease at Stanton and Amaker? Do you have any reason or?
Well, Stanton, you just gotta look across what the tribes put in behind the gas station.
Right.
A beautiful
Yeah.
RV park, and you drive through ours and it's pathetic.
Right.
And that's why we're gonna scrape it off and do over this fall. So that's the primary one there. In Amaker, the absolute numbers are, it's not as bad as it looks, it's down 30%, but we don't have a lot of people staying there. And a lot of it, what I've seen over the last couple of years is, my first 2 years here at that park, we were doing a lot of what I would call quasi-homeless people staying in there. And for whatever reason, they've all sort of gone away. We haven't had, and they amounted for a lot of our stays. And so that's dropped off for whatever reason, I don't know. But those two parks were down over 30%.
It could be the things that are being implemented the last few years, like with the
To house people,
Right.
get them into alternative housing.
the navigation center and stuff could have helped with that.
I'm not too concerned about the drop-offs. We're gonna address Stanton, Amaker's Amaker. Probably the last park we do any major renovations to. It just, there's probably a conversation to have some other day about whether we need to continue having a campground there, maybe just make the whole thing a day use park. I mean, we have a dedicated camp host, you go in there any day of the week and there's 1, 2, 0 people there, but that's the decision for another day. Next item, this is the budget presentation that I thought I'd share with you. So I shared the budget with you earlier this year and then presented the budget earlier this week. It got approved and I just wanted to show you the presentation. It just kind of puts the numbers in different formats. And so we look at operating revenue, you can see how that's moving.
Yeah.
Our overnights dropped 5%, 3.2 on the coast, 10%, and then 10% decrease inland. On the non-operating revenue, that's grazing leases. That's where you'll see the sale of properties that we discussed earlier. And then minor sources of revenue in equipment asset sales and firewood sales. The first year or so I was here, we got rid of over $300,000 of surplus assets. We've kind of caught up on that. So now it's just buy a new truck, sell the old truck. Just see that generating as much revenue going forward, which is appropriate. O&M grants, just give you some visibility on those. We get about $67,000 a year from the Marine Board. Park and Rec gives us $368,000 for managing the parks, and that is a function of RV registrations and RV purchases. And the state has a formula that divvies them up to each county, and so that one will fluctuate. The boat ramp one is pretty flat. The RV one's a function of sales, so that can ebb and flow. And the ATV grant we get for coastal parks maintenance, that one jumped up. If you look at the FY22 actual to FY23, we had a big jump there. We took a hard look at the ATV O&M grant, and there was a number of things that we were able to add into there to bump that up, and it was accepted by. There was some low-hanging fruit there that we could have claimed, and I did, and we got a nice bump in that. And then that bump's permanent, cause it goes forward. And we just update it with salaries and other overhead costs for them to calculate what that should be. So in M grants, personnel costs are up 4.5%, no change in FTE for FY '25. As of the time of this slide, we're currently fully staffed, but we have a vacancy in one of our park maintenance techs that we're processing, starting to operating expenses are generally up about $40,000, 3.6%. We've added internet service at a number of campgrounds, that added $50,000 to our expenses. And we had a settlement with the Winchester Bay Sanitary District that's reduced our sewer bill for Umpqua Dunes by $10,000 a year. Capital projects, so I've updated this slide since I speak. That the 1.311, that's the county's contribution. The total value is about 2.9 million. And so Whistler Bend Phase 2, this is the county's allocation, so we have matching grants for this. So we're gonna spend about 900,000 on Whistler Bend Phase 2. That's gonna start after Labor Day of this year. Whistler Phase 1 is currently underway and will be done early next month. And it already looks fantastic what's going on out there. Stanton Phase 1, we're going to do the playground improvements next month. And the rest of Phase 1 is parking lot improvements. And I'm gonna package that with the campground improvement just to have one mobilization for the paving crew. And so Stanton Phase 2 is a complete remodel of the upper campground, and we're shutting the campground down after Labor Day and start that project. And we typically close the lower campground at Stanton just because of lack of business. We're gonna keep the lower campground open this year to keep some revenue coming into that park while the upper park's getting remodeled. And then I've got the River Forks dog park in there. All these projects have 50% match except for the dog park. And I wish they'd stuck around because we'll talk about that later. And then not on here, and just so you all know, we have, I put in for local government program grant to do an Umpqua Dunes Phase 3, which was put together in a master concept plan back in 18 or 19. And for whatever reason, they didn't pursue all 3 phases. The first phase was done before I got here. I got to finish Phase 2, and Phase 3 is an extension of the South Loop. And I think they deferred it because they involved moving a bunch of sand, and it's more involved than just leveling the existing Discovery Point campground. That grant request is just under $1 million. The local government grant program has something like $37 million available this year. And they've got grants, they got 60 applications requesting close to 34 million, which tells me they'll fund about 90% of the grants right now. And I will bet my next paycheck that we're gonna get this one because we have a very good plan, it's shelf ready. I'm gonna have all the planning and zoning constraints addressed before the grant committee makes a decision. So I'm hoping to tell them we're you know, the more certainty you can give them that you're shovel ready, the better your odds are.
You're ready to go. When would that start?
I would start it right after Labor Day. And so what I did, and I talked to Commissioner Boyce, and I've talked to the grant committee, if we went ahead with the engineering design right now, we would forego the 50% match. It's $44,000 to do design work. If I can get the design work done, I've talked to the grant committee, get the design work done, I can put it out for bid after, so presentations in July, end of July. I'll know at the end of July if the grant committee's approved the grant. And then it's gotta go to the OPID commission, and they'll have a meeting in September where they basically certify and approve those. If I get the initial approval, we can go out to bid and get it all ready to go. And I can't execute a contract until I get a notice to proceed on the grant. So my goal is to tee this all up, assuming we're gonna get it. And as soon as we get the notice to proceed, boom, the contractor starts. My goal is, if we can get that construction underway in October, we could potentially have it open by Memorial Day. And if we can add 27 more sites to Umpqua Dunes, I figure it'll generate $250,000 to the bottom line next summer.
And you have no qualms about being able to get 27 more sites available, because we're already
Oh,
full all the time now, so
It's probably our biggest complaint we're getting from customers, because they'll
not enough.
try and get a reservation, then they call us and we gotta be 90% plus sold out. It's crazy. And
That's a
so,
no-brainer.
so I'm willing to forego the 22,000 match we would get, waiting for the engineering. Because if I wait till October to get notice to proceed and then start designing engineering, I'm gonna miss out on that summer. So we're front loading it. Spending
With a
some
plan
more
to
money
return
than
that
we
money
have
back.
to, but we'll make that back in spades if we can open by Memorial Day. And we were able to do that with phase 2, and I'm confident we can do it with this phase 3. That's what we're trying to do. And, next one, capital purchases, down slightly, it's about $250,000. Replacing pickups and utility cots and just some equipment. Department's got 26 vehicles, average fleet mileage of over 120,000. My goal is to standardize the fleet. We have, if you went and looked at 10 rigs, you'd see 10 different vehicles. It's Forest Service surplus we buy, and I'm trying to get, I don't need a Campo supervisor running around in a 1-ton Chevy pickup because we got it for cheap, when she could be driving in an F-150 that gets 25 miles to the gallon instead of an 8 mile a gallon tank. So this is our second year of trying to get the vehicles recycled. What I'm finding is one thing to get the budget approval to do it, and that's another thing to actually go buy the trucks. We've had an F-250 on order since January. It finally showed up in Portland along with 5,000 other vehicles, but someone apparently forgot to ship the keys with those trucks. And so it's been up there for 6 weeks now. And then I've had 2 F-150s on order since January, and Ford is still yet to issue production dates. So they're just sitting in queue. So some of those may roll over into next year.
Lightning's down on the lot.
Yeah, go ahead and buy one of those. See how far you get in East Oregon with it. Boy. So that's the capital purchases. Non-capital, looks like it's up a lot, which it is, but. So the picnic table frames, they are $1,100 a piece just for the galvanized steel piping you use for those. We have about a dozen units of 2x10 kiln dried and molded lumber that we got from all the trees we've salvaged out of the parks. And so we're gonna turn those into picnic tables. I was a little shocked at the price of the new frames, and we certainly have a need for what I would call portable picnic tables. But I'm also gonna pivot, and we can get these concrete tables
Yeah, 1,500, right?
at $1,500,
Yeah.
and they last forever, and they don't get stolen. So if you think about Pickett Park, we usually have a couple of portable tables, and they get vandalized, they get stolen. So my goal is to incrementally start replacing the day use parks with these concrete tables.
They can't carve in them, they can't burn them,
Yeah.
they can't,
And keep in mind, it's $1,100 just for the frames, then you got the labor of
It's
painting the
concrete's
boards,
cheaper.
mounting the boards. The concretes are cheaper.
The cheaper
They're just
option.
unmovable. So you gotta think about where you put them. So anyway, that's what we're doing there. We're just pivoting that way. Cornhole games, we have,
How do you keep anyone, they're concrete, okay, I was like, how do you keep anyone from
Yeah.
stealing those?
well, we have horseshoe pits like at Stanton and River Forks, and nobody's using them. They're in disrepair. I hate seeing stuff that's in disrepair. We're either gonna fix it or we're gonna rip it out. And you wouldn't believe the pile of junk we have in our yard that we're just cleaning up. Whole play sets that haven't been used in 10 years. Why is it still out there? Just get rid of it. And then the cashless pay stations, so an update on that is I got a budget adjustment this year, and we're gonna put 6 of these cashless pay stations on the coast at all the campgrounds. The coast generated over $100,000 of the $200,000 we handled in cash last year. And that cash gets counted 3 times. Jennifer and staff count it twice, and then it goes up to M&F and they count it a 3rd time. So county employees counted $600,000 in cash from our operations last year. The cashless pay stations, they'll go into the coast, that's gonna wipe out 50% of our cash. And then we'll add 3 inland, Stanton and Whistler for starters. They're roughly, with the kiosk and everything, you're looking at $12,000 to $15,000. And then the $95 a month subscription fee for them that we'll build into the budget going forward. So it's, put your credit card in, you've gone and seen an open site, you go back to the pay box, plug in your campsite, how many nights, put your credit card in, gives you a ticket receipt, put it in your window, Camp Host can follow up and verify you've paid.
And they're all technology based, I mean, they have the Apple Pay and all that kind of stuff we can do on them too, cause that's gonna be a huge,
I think it's just all credit cards, plug your credit card in.
Okay.
And then it just shows up seamlessly on our end, no cash to handle. It's also gonna get away from, you never know how much theft is occurring. I mean, occasionally you find wires and devices where
Yeah,
people have
somebody's
been trying to
stuck
get and
yeah.
they were unsuccessful and they couldn't get the damn thing out.
Yeah.
There's probably a little bit of that still going on. The bigger one is someone will come into a site and pay for 2 nights. And what you have to keep in mind is we only empty the pay boxes a couple of times a week. And when they get emptied, they go into a sealed bag envelope and then they come over to our office where they get opened and we count the cash. So if someone went in there for 2, as an example, they went in, stayed 2 nights, and maybe 4 or 5 days later we're opening up the envelopes and they got a note in there, thanks for the free 2 nights. Yeah, so you just got screwed out 2 nights. Because you don't even know. If you're doing a cash system or a pay box system, you do away with that.
So will this thing take cash also?
No.
Just credit.
Just credit card.
How's vandalism or with those machines
Well, they're-
handled?
They're right in our parks, right in our kiosks, we're adding lighting to them, so
Some
they're
deterrents?
not, the only one that would be remote per se would be the one we're putting at the entrance to Sand Camp. But you're not gonna get any cash out of it.
No. It's
I meant more like just
Take
people,
a
you
hammer
know,
to it.
yeah, people,
K
Vandalism.
plus J written all over, whatever.
Yeah, and that's true of anything, right?
True, yeah.
I think it's gonna be a big,
Scraped the
it's gonna be a big
K plus J
improvement
before.
for us.
I mean, getting rid of the
Taking
cash
it,
is a huge deal.
It is, and it's a big time sink for staff, not just accounting, but it takes 2 people to open up the cash boxes just for security. And so essentially, 2 employees go to the cash box, they open it up, and but there's not 2 keys, so there's always the,
There's a
I don't
possibility
suspect
there.
anyone, but malfeasance, people could always, if they got the key, go in there middle of the night and empty it, but I don't suspect any of that happening, but it just eliminates that.
Yeah, you wanna eliminate
Option.
even the appearance.
But anyway, 2 people have to open it, they put it in a secure bag, so you put the money in, then you tape it, and you can't get at those envelopes without destroying the bag, security bag, and then those come over to the coast.
Well, and then there's a risk if you have employees driving around with cash.
That too. So they'll collect it and it goes right into a safe, and then when myself or Steve brings it back from the coast, it goes right in the safe unless they start counting it right away. So we've got very good cash handling protocols in place. And then the other, so yeah, it'll be interesting to see how, what we see in terms of response. But it's gonna cut down any theft that may or may not be occurring, and then biggest advantage is gonna be eliminating those people that just stuff Canadian money in there or stuff a note,
You're literally gonna have to pay for your spot now, so.
Yeah.
And you're gonna see a revenue generator.
And
Every day
you
cash
you
is
may
a
be,
king.
you may be precluding some people that just pay cash, but on the flip side, people that don't have credit cards or any other ability to pay, maybe they're not the ones you want in your park.
So, well, and I think that there will be some sort of pushback on that, cause there are folks who deal only in cash and they're gonna be upset. I can't pay cash, so,
Resistance to
Cross that-
innovation is
yeah, we'll
definitely.
cross that bridge when we come to it.
Well, and at Sand Camp, for example, we didn't have a cash box, well, we have a cash box, but the way Sand Camp works, we pretty much on a Friday afternoon, we have 2 people just sitting there collecting cash that's come in, because it gets really hard to police. It's one thing in a campground where there's designated spots and you just go around and Site 41's got paid, but when it's 300 people in Sand Camp and just trying to track everyone, and so as you know, we know when that place starts to ramp up. During the week, it's easy to go around, there's 20 or 30 and just check they're paid. But when you get a couple hundred coming in on the weekend, we basically camp 2 people there, collecting money coming in. And so that's people tied up again, where now they just go into the kiosk, pay their way and go, and then the staff just gonna have to go around and look for the tickets.
Is there
Alright,
any system in place that they could pay ahead of time, maybe print a PDF of their?
well, we have,
Okay, they can
most of our stays are reservations online. Yeah,
pay ahead of time and all that
yeah,
stuff.
it's just the first come, first served.
Okay, that's perfect.
I just didn't want a line to be backed up clear to the, freeway, cause they're waiting to pay for a kiosk, cause it takes a little longer than slipping an envelope in.
So that's my budget. That's my agenda. Your agenda, you know.
Your parking, yeah.
It's the same thing.
So current capital project update, I went over that, I went over Umpqua Dunes. Sand phase 1, phase 2, we talked about Umpqua Dunes phase 3. I want to, so Whistle Bend phase 1 and 2, phase 1's underway right now. I wanna give kudos to Gina. She hooked us up with a work crew. 5, is it Job Corps, Gina?
Yeah, this first group was from Job Corps.
Yeah, and so we basically have 5 full-time employees from the Job Corps. And we've got them
Such a
at,
great program.
yeah, and well, and it really dovetails in well with what we're trying to do with this phase 1 and phase 2 at Whistler. And so we've had that crew out there for the last couple of weeks. And we have eradicated Scotch broom out of the lower campground, all along the frontage. We've got it out of the day use area. And they've done a lot of tree pruning, and just in conjunction with the projects, that park is gonna look incredible next year. Once we got all the Scotch broom gotten rid of, it's gonna be easier to maintain the seed coming back in through time, but the lower campground, for example, it was a wall of Scotch broom just to get to the river. That's all gone, and it looks so much better.
I need to get out there and see it.
So the next thing we're gonna do with them is, we got a bunch of picnic tables to make, and we're gonna have them in, is that a carpentry program? Some of them expressed in.
Yeah, so this group is interested in construction, carpentry and stuff,
Yeah.
and so, yeah, they're getting a ton of,
So they've been doing a lot of
experience out
park
there.
maintenance stuff, but we're
Yeah.
gonna get them in our shop and basically set up a production line, make a bunch of tables.
That's cool.
So we're gonna be using them for that next.
That's awesome.
That's really good. So it's really given us a chance to get ahead on some of these
Anytime
things.
you can get young people with their hands on tools and doing something is always a win-win.
so they get a certificate at the end of it too, so they have to hit certain benchmarks in order to graduate from the Job Corps program, but then also our goal was to get them marketable job skills. And so they are getting paid, but they're not getting paid from any of us, they get paid through it's actually Phoenix School that we're also working with, is the one that pays them. We're facilitating the experience, Job Corps is housing them, and the Parks Department has been supplying the work, so.
And we've been, they're out of, they're staying up in the Clyde area somewhere, right?
They get dropped off at our office every morning, and if they're not with you, we have them doing community projects and stuff, so they've
But
built some
they're
decks
kinda
and
out
stuff.
that way, and
Yeah,
so
way up.
we've got them, yeah, we've got them working at Whistler, and they're, I think this week they may be at Cabot Creek.
Which is right down the road.
Which is right down the road, so we're trying to use them out there and putting them to good work, making some real drastic improvements at Whistler. And then you have another crew coming in July, Steve told me?
Yeah, so we'll be continuing this, it's just every 3 months, we'll have a new group.
Yeah.
And it depends on their focus, but it seems like the hands-on manual labor stuff is gonna be predominantly what the kids are needing experience in, and so we're hoping to just continue partnering with the Parks Department, but then also other groups and organizations.
Yeah. And already got Steve working on a, potential schedule of work for that July crew, and we've got lots of things we can use them for.
Yeah, it's worked really well, especially with the timeline. I think I came to you 2 weeks before it was supposed to start, and I was like, can we make this happen? So, and it's
No,
worked
we made it
well,
happen.
You're like a
I'm not-
neighbor?
I'm not-
Yeah, I can figure that out. I got you.
I'm not gonna turn down 5 free young
folks
Young
who are ready to
men,
work.
yeah.
energetic bodies.
So. Yeah,
So, and we've even put them on equipment at some of the landscape equipment.
yeah, they've
Okay.
gotten
Put
a
them on the
lot of
flat ground at
experience.
Whistler, not the steep stuff, and they're pretty funny to watch them at first. They're like super intimidated, and you come back a day later and they're just flying around mowing. So I think it's been good for them, and it's been really good for us, so thank you, Gina.
Yeah, no, it's been great for us too, and it's very hard to find places that are willing to accept kids, especially more like at-risk kids, to come do work, and so this has been phenomenal. They've enjoyed it, I feel like they're getting a lot out of it, and
Now look at
two of
their
them are,
office.
yeah, 2 of them are going on to permanent job placement after this, so.
Wow, that's cool.
Have you gotten any feedback from the kids?
Yeah, they've
They enjoy
really
what
enjoyed
they
it. I mean,
do?
we have one that I'm pretty sure doesn't enjoy anything, but the rest of them have actually enjoyed it a lot, and they're really enjoying the variety. So like I said, we've had community assistance projects that we needed done in the Glide area, and they've gotten to go build decks. They actually went and helped do some landscaping for a retired couple that can't do it anymore, and just they've really gotten to do a lot of different stuff, so.
We're trying to give them that exposure, and that's
It's
why
just
we're,
an amazing thing, sorry, Mark.
Yeah, it's going great, so.
so that's why we're trying to pull them into the yard and give them some, carpentry skills and work on putting a bunch of tables, and it kind of mixes it up, and then they'll go back to the park and
Yeah.
be working on
Some of these kids that come in have never spent time outdoors, they've never done.
I was gonna say, a lot
They
of
just have it.
culture shock.
City kids.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
inner city kids, or there's a lot of different things that are there, and so this is just a huge opportunity for them, I think it's great.
Yeah, they worked with our daycare and they built raised garden beds for the daycare. For the kids to plant stuff in, and then they asked if they could help with the planting too, so they're helping the little kids do the planting in a couple of weeks too, which is, it's cool,
It's
it's fun to
really
see them taking an interest in stuff, so,
Yeah, well, thanks for the opportunity,
yeah, thank you.
exploiting it as best we can.
But, I probably wore out those picnic tables at Cabot Creek. We used to line them up and stack the last on the rail and then run and jump off.
Yeah.
What else did you do in our parks?
So that's why we want concrete tables.
I feel like I'm giving back. That's why I'm part of the Parks Board, is to pay back for all the horrible things I did as a teenager.
I'll give full disclosure, concrete tables are not the be all end all.
Well, you can break
Because
them.
we had one at Pickett last summer, and it appeared to me that someone had a sledgehammer party with it. Just totally demolished.
Oh, wow.
You're never gonna,
And it took a lot of effort to
you're
do
never
that.
gonna get away from that stuff, it's just, people are just,
People.
they're gonna do it with a
People ruin everything.
burn picnic table, I mean,
Alright, Vice Chair, that's my presentation.
All right, well, do we have any
Comments?
Parks Board Advisory, any comments? Anybody comments? Anybody? Anything for the good of the order?
I kinda went over it, but I did include a spreadsheet of the grants and if you want more detail, what's included in the budget and what's not. And just on a final note, River Forks Park, we have 50,000 budgeted for a dog park that we talked about in a previous meeting. And I'm looking at grants and what's out there, there's a county opportunity grant coming up. And I'm kinda leaning right now, I've got hopefully Umpqua Dunes Phase 3 in the bag. The only other campground left for renovation is gonna be Half Moon Bay, the expansion, that's a big project. So I think I wanna get these $3 million of projects done and maybe think about that. And especially get Umpqua Dunes Phase 3 done, and then that's, an additional $250,000 operating revenue we can put towards something else. So I say all of that, got a dog park, River Forks Park. I'm kinda leaning to doing something at River Forks. I don't have anything of substance to share with you right now, I'm just thinking out loud. But anytime I can get a grant to match money we have, I wanna do that. So the dog park's kind of the starting point, and then as I look at River Forks and think about them, that's why I wanted to just stick around for that discussion. There's a gravel hiking trail around the park.
Mhm.
I think we'd like to make that paved, make it more accessible. And we have some old play structures up by the whale pavilion. There's an old swing set and
Helicopter.
and then, no, I'll tell you about the helicopter. So I'm thinking about taking that out and putting in something else. And the soccer field may be a part of that, but I don't think we're ready to have that discussion. So we may just move forward with trail and some other minor, the dog park, get the dog park funded.
I think if you get the right people in that group, cause I know some of those people, and you present that, it might be the right time for that discussion. They could move quickly, and
You think so?
some of those people have some deep pockets. I mean, real deep pockets.
Well, they didn't put any contact information down here, so
But if you
if it
did-
looks like that we could fast track that, I'll reach out to you, Troy. and-
Yeah, I got, Michelle and I grew up together, so.
Okay, cause they're, you know, the important thing there is having them as a partner, both in support of the grant and, you know,
Help
the backing of this big program.
to achieve
Use
your
it.
grant.
And then to have some skin in the game, so it's not all county dollars, cause this isn't gonna be a revenue generator for us.
No.
If you look at it from an ROI standpoint, there's no ROI to say
Cause we
there
don't
for
charge
us.
for parking or anything, so.
It's more just providing a public amenity.
And it would also increase overall revenue coming into the county to the neighboring businesses. They're
Correct,
not-
yeah,
They're not
that's-
directly benefiting
Correct.
us as the
Yeah,
county.
there's
entity.
things, as I'm learning in this job, there's things we do that generate revenue, there's things we do that don't. But just cause they don't, doesn't mean we don't wanna do them. The Whistling Bend, the day use area, that doesn't generate any revenue directly, cause again, we're not doing parking fees. But if you improve the amenities, we're gonna fill up the campground. So it's indirect. But if we can get that organization, they can leverage some grants. Some of the grants you get, you can use as match for other grants. And
Well, that's nice.
but that's what I'm saying, I don't think that's gonna happen in 2 or 3 months, maybe not. I'll talk to you, Troy, some more when I
Yeah.
put some more meat around what I'm thinking of River Forks.
Yeah.
What else do I gotta say? Crab Dock. I'm calling the Crab Dock my proverbial money pit.
Your albatross.
Jeez, I mean, I did a $200,000 project when I first got here for storm damage. We had a log wedge inside the pilings this winter and tore out 2 of them. And so by the time I did my underwater dive search, my survey, and my above ground survey, and then put together engineering design, I'm $50,000 into it, just to get a design to replace 4 pilings. And also working through a permit and regulatory process with the Corps, cause it's in water work. And I say all this to say, I've been taking a lot of flack from the public on why the Crab Dock's closed. It's been closed since February. And what they don't appreciate is the regulatory process you have to go through. And
Even as a county entity, they don't realize that.
the Army Corps don't care who you are.
I deal with them,
And they've got their
all the time.
rules and I accept them, you gotta work through them. And we're probably 30 days into a 60-day process for them to approve a permit, with the caveat they have to consult with NIMS. So I've got Army Corps working as diligent as they can to get it out, but they said, we have to consult with NIMS, and NIMS isn't always on a timeline, so fingers crossed I get a permit sometime in June along with design plans, and then I have to put that out for bid. I'm hoping sometime in July we can get it fixed. And the problem is, there's not a pile driver in the Umpqua River estuary. So you're gonna have to mobilize
You're gonna
something
bring
out
one
of
in, bring it
Newport or
down.
Coos
Oh
Bay.
my gosh.
And so I have $200,000 budgeted to replace 4 pilings.
You're not gonna make it.
Well, if I go over, I'm just gonna have to ask for more money. But not opening it is not an option. I can't believe.
No, you'll have the
use of that.
pitchforks and the rakes and the whole thing,
We
the
had-
torches.
I had an email from a lady in, where was it? It was either Stockton, California. Yeah, it was Stockton, California. We're coming up in July for our annual camping trip at Windy Cove, and all they do is spend time on the Crab Dock. We heard it's not gonna be open. Should we move our vacation to August?
Oh, wow. Committed.
Crabbett's better in September, so tell them to move to September.
Yeah, I don't know why you want a crab in July anyway.
No.
But anyway, and that, and I get 3 or 4 emails a week, when's Crab Dock gonna be open? So, you don't know how much how important something is to the public until they don't have access to it anymore.
I'm well aware of how that stuff goes.
Try turning the power off, then call.
Well, as I look at that dock, you know, you can't put creosote in there, you gotta put steel pilings. The whole dock was built in 1937 as a Coast Guard installation.
It's all grandfathered in, right?
We are incrementally replacing the
Replacing
entire
it.
dock.
Yeah.
So, anyway, we'll get this latest one fixed and hope we don't have to revisit it for a number of years. That's all I have.
Unless anybody has anything else, or if there's no objections, we'll adjourn the meeting at 11:13.
Okay.
Meeting adjourned.